Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the TLDM podcast, a podcast where the points are made up and what is it? How's that go? Where everything's made up.
Where everything's made up and the points don't matter. I'm Tyler Samples.
And I'm Alan Linick. Welcome back. It's been a little while since we've recorded. Sorry.
Although from your perspective, it's just been a while since we've released episodes, and then we released 2 in 2 weeks.
Yep. Are we back on the wagon?
Oh, I hope so.
I will see, I guess.
We might just be on a different release schedule, which is called intermittent.
Yep. We haven't been recording because we haven't played in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's hard with, this is true for everybody. It's always that weird thing of like, is the campaign dying or are people just busy? And for my campaign, it's just people are busy because it's summer.
Is my campaign dying?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so either.
Although, to be fair, a lot of the weeks we haven't played my campaign is because I have canceled those days.
Right.
Just a bunch of stuff has come up.
I mean, you're a busy boy.
So busy.
Yeah. We travel and stuff.
But
anyway.
We are talking to you now from literally atop the map of the session that I ran for us today.
Yeah.
So let's catch people up really quick on where we're at.
Tell us about the Locomotive City, Alan.
Great, I will. I know I've mentioned on a previous episode, but this new campaign I have been having a lot of fun with designing kind of like standalone, rather than a narrative plot line that kind of like moves forward and folds in like elements and has twists and surprises and blah-de-blah-de. I'm having a lot of fun with this sort of like, I'm going to call it like almost like a tree trunk campaign where we have this central plot device or like home base of the Locomotive City, which is this big train that essentially has anything you could ever want on it in the form of train cars and is going from town to town. And what it's allowed me to do is create branches, like sort of self-contained adventure hook and plot hook branches that come off of the train and do like fun stuff. And then we return to the train and we move on to the next branch.
Yeah, it's very deliberately episodic.
Yeah,
it's very like creature feature monster of the week kind of vibe to
going
it.
For that classic like sitcom, every episode resets to neutral at the end, which seems to be working out so far. I'm curious to see if that model is sustainable, and I'm excited to start tinkering with longer episodes that span like several sessions at a time. But it feels like this is sort of working out. It feels like the like central cast of limited characters that the party knows very well who's traveling with them is like fun. And then that allows me to create a bunch of like stupid like throwaway characters and villains and whatever to tack on to these small adventures that we don't have to worry about keeping up with or bookkeeping very much.
Right.
So that's fun. Yep.
And in the Western campaign, we haven't played a whole lot, but what we have has been chock full of fun. We are headed to the Peace, which is a large desert to the south of the continent. And the crew headed there in an airship that they chartered, in which they encountered kind of a classic setup of they got attacked by harpies and a cyclops. And our most recent week led to some big predicaments with that, in which they ultimately inadvertently, but necessarily released the air elemental that powered the ship's propulsion and fought off the cyclops and the harpies and everything. But in the process, the owner of the airship passed. So the one who was sort of the elemental binder. So now they are adrift on an airship floating over the desert, which was a fun sort of cliffhanger place to end it.
Ooh.
Yeah. And we've had a lot of like interpersonals. Everybody seems to be pairing off in one form or fashion. Even the NPCs are starting to be paired off with each other by the main characters, which I think is funny. They're creating love circles for each other. Alan's character Srad's valet, Canderly, has become quite the hot object of affection.
Yeah, he's just a super buff gnome.
Mm-hmm. And we have Ness Van Johnny, played by Matt Myers, is very entranced with him and is doing a really sweet you know how in some games you have the people who are like, they try to quote unquote seduce every barmaid or anything, and it's gross and weird, where it's like they just want to fuck,
enact their weird fantasies.
Yeah. Matt's doing like the reverse of that, where he's very sweetly trying to woo this NPC by doing like small, kind gestures to see if it's like very much leading to a like, do you like me? Check yes or no kind of note passing, which is adorable. And the only form of it that I truly could ever accept from a player. Don't let your players do that. It's weird. Or make them have to play. This is honestly what I would recommend. If somebody at your table was like, I want to try to woo this girl, make them play the NPC.
Ooh.
And then you let them roll and say what they want to do, but they have to play the NPC and really make them live in that, because like that's weird. I don't know. Anyway, so that's what we're doing. We're just getting into a desert exploration stage, which is
I'm excited
real
to play
fun.
in the sand.
And I'm at a real crossroads with the game.
Oh, what's going on?
Well, I'm curious. We've been adding NPCs at a pretty furious rate in the last couple of sessions, which I adore. And I have a overarching plot device that is already in motion, and that you guys sort of are on the precipice of uncovering. And so I'm torn this week between pursuing that and letting that play out, or scrapping it and holding off on it and actually just doing like a whole campaign of just sort of interacting with the NPCs and tying up loose ends with the NPCs and following their lives.
Ooh.
Because we have like, there's just so many new people that have been introduced who everybody has like some sort of relationship with, that it almost feels fun to just stop focusing on adventures at all and instead just let you guys live the social lives of your characters. Like, let the adventuring field go fallow for a season,
Interesting.
as it were. So that's what I'm trying to decide on.
Yeah. I mean, as always, I'm sitting on characters I'm ready to play.
I know you are.
And some of them have like plots attached to them almost. So
right.
I'm always curious about just like dumping a bunch of people in a room and
right.
seeing what they want to do. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you're thinking more of like just like hanging out in a town and like doing social stuff.
So specifically what it is there's a bunch of small things that have happened with NPCs where the PCs have gotten invested in what's going to happen to them. On the level of, there's one NPC, Montage, who's an awakened tree.
Who's the greatest?
He's the greatest. He sort of offhandedly, we were kind of joking around, and said that he doesn't feel like a tree inside. Inside he feels like a bipedal deer. And one of the characters polymorphed him to be a bipedal deer, which was incredible for him. And then after an hour, it wore off. So Erin's character has devoted some of her extensive wealth towards searching out to find a magic user capable of casting true polymorph on Montage to turn him into that form permanently. So that's like a fun thing. We have so many like little hooks that we have with the NPCs that I think it might be fun to pause and like pursue them out. Like Jostin is a character that everybody like has had interactions with.
Yeah, super hot.
He's super hot. There was somebody else that came
Sophie
up.
Callum?
Sophie Callum is a perpetual thorn.
But only for Erin. The rest of us like her.
Yeah, the rest of you.
I think is super hilarious.
Yeah, everybody
like,
else.
She's like the classic like PC like rival character.
Mm-hmm.
Sophie Callum is like the Gary Oak of
yes,
Erin's
exactly.
Ash Ketchum character.
Yeah.
But the rest of us are all like, yeah, Sophie Callum's awesome.
Yeah,
she's so kind and like nice.
Yeah, and I don't even know if you guys think she's like really kind and nice. You're just like, she's really cool.
Yeah, she's
so cool,
which is what Erin's character wants us to think about.
So
Busty, and it just is funny.
Yeah, exactly. And there was some other character that came up recently, but like Helen Rander that you introduced has like a lot going on. Canderly does. Anyway, all of these characters who have very minor wants that the PCs have given them, that like the players have given the NPCs, that I'm like, I kind of almost want to take a step back from the adventuring and let these like level 11 like bordering on demigod player like characters just like help out their little buddies like get their homework done and like close on that mortgage and just like be mythically involved in their friends' little lives.
Yeah.
Feels fun for a little while, but I might also but also adventuring is so much easier to plan. So
yes,
it's like,
and it's,
either way,
there's no, if you have stuff planned, like stuff that is happening, or like goals that are tangible, there's no risk of running out of steam or something there either. Because I think that's where sometimes social things can sort of fall out, is like we have a conversation for a while and then it just like it feels like
next?
We're spinning the wheels.
It's the beauty of anytime a campaign has a way or a means to have a ticking clock on, like, we have to get this done in the next 3 days, will always feel fun. And like the social interactions there are fun because you have something to go to.
Right.
But without the ticking clock, it's like, well, why we don't have any reason to leave. So why would we?
Right.
But it's like, you don't see people in the show 24 using the bathroom.
No.
Because you don't need to. That happens during the commercial breaks.
I want to see Jack Bauer take a leak.
You do, more than anyone I've ever met.
Whatever. Don't kink shame me.
Never. Alan, you have been using maps more in our game.
I have been. We're looking at one.
Yeah. How's that feel? Before that, we were solely Theater of the Mind.
We were. And I was kind of looking over the post-mortem notes I took from the first campaign before I rebooted us. And
also, I just want to interject and say I remembered which other NPC it was that it feels like a huge loose end for us.
Oh.
Was Tom the Flump.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Because you guys...
We desperately want Tom the Flump.
You want to find him and help him find his kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like...
got him twice as entirely separate characters both times.
Right.
But out of character, yeah, we're hugely invested in Tom the Flump. But...
Anyway.
Maps.
You were saying.
It felt like some of the notes I took that they were geared towards like really enjoying tactile and visual representation. And something that I noticed on my end is that, we ended up with like a bunch of cool like items and like things, like stuff and like cool abilities and stuff that felt like they just weren't really used all that much.
Right.
And I thought basically on the back of like my experience with using maps in like Adventurers League or like in let's say like a Dungeon Dome, which is super fun.
Yeah.
Sometimes having a visual representation of space can help us as players like create opportunities for action or opportunities off of the environment in a way that's really hard to do in Theater of the Mind.
Right.
Especially because no matter how well you describe something, if you're using something that's purely Theater of the Mind or narrative-based description, no matter how well you do it, every person in the room is imagining a sometimes close and sometimes not so close approximation of the thing that you had in mind when you designed the room.
Right.
So I thought, let's just try maps and see how that goes. And since I've started doing it, today was a great example of like, well, I know where the party's going, and I'm planning on giving this fun magic item out today. So I'll make clear in the way the map works and like what this place looks like and how I describe it, that this is the perfect place to test out what this item can do.
Yeah.
And we used it to great effect.
Yeah, it was very fun.
In a way that we...
And what was that item, Alan? For those at home, they have to know about this nifty new magic item.
Basically, in its most spoiled down sense, it's a modified Slippers of Spider Climb.
Mm-hmm.
This version reduces your movement speed by 5 while you wear them because they're made out
Then what's the point? Why would I want to wear them at all?
What a great question. Because... you are still gaining the adhere to walls and ceilings effect.
Okay.
And more importantly, because they're made of gelatinous cube jelly, they are also pretty good at dodging. They're like sticky, so they're pretty good at dodging effects that make the ground difficult terrain due to slipperiness.
Mm-hmm.
So areas that are covered in oil, or if someone casts the grease or sleet storm spells, if you're trying to climb up a wall of ice, that sort of thing. These slippers will do the job where ordinary Slippers of Spider Climb will not.
Yeah.
And the trade-off is that your movement speed is reduced by 5 because there's a slurpy, sucky feet thing that happens there. it was super fun. Our barbarian, or I should say barbarian,
Mm-hmm.
our barbarian used the ceiling climb effect very well to sneak past some people and then ultimately get the drop literally on them, and also to avoid some party compacting in some tight tunnels.
Yeah, that was very cool.
So it was fun to see that sort of thing get used in a way where I feel like in the first round of campaigns, I would sometimes feel like I would give an item out and we'd be like, oh, cool. And then we would like basically not really ever use it and forget about it. So that's been fun for me. And it's also, I think using a visual representation of the map board as well and being able for having our party be able to see where they are in relation to each other and where the enemies are and like how spaced out everything is and how much room they have to maneuver and stuff has been interesting too, to see people's turns, especially in combat, to see people's turns become tactical and spatial.
Yeah.
In a way where like having a board physically present in the room has given the players, my players, something to engage with that's in front of them
and to react against.
Yeah. In a way that like a lot of times in first campaign, I feel like when I moved off of someone's turn, they would kind of like phase out, like zone out, or their eyes would glass over. And then when I came back around to them, there would be like every turn needed like a refresh. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And just being able to see it all and like see people move and like see the characters move and like do things. And then as enemies are killed or incapacitated, to have them removed from the board, being able to see that and feel that, I think has had a positive impact on our game.
Yeah, I would agree. Even the simple thing of being able to be like, ooh, I see that thing on the like drawn on here. I want to go investigate that.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's something that has already been investigated or something you described, or it's just like a line on it that didn't mean anything. It's still it gives more active. It gives people more, or at least within our group, more engagement with the environment in a way that is fun. And it's been interesting for me because I'm playing like a bard, which is a support character through and through. And having them play a little bit more like a little bit more aware of space actually makes it much easier to play support in a way that feels relevant, because it's like there's less the risk always with playing a support character is if your DM is too hand wavy on like, sure, that works, a lot of the stuff that you can do as support actually ends up not mattering, like giving bardic inspiration, if it's really easy to get advantage, bardic inspiration isn't quite as valuable as it would be otherwise. Or like if there's stuff that impacts movement or like line of sight stuff, if we're not playing with those rules mattering, then those spells or abilities don't matter as much either. So it's fun.
But today you used both of those things to great effect.
Yeah, I did, and it felt nice.
Yay!
Yeah.
Is this your first bard?
No, bards are absolutely my favorite characters, and
Gotcha.
I actually have not played a bard in a while because I've forced myself to avoid bards because they're my favorite, hands down. I think they're the best class, bar none. They can do everything, and I don't care. I've never cared about doing one thing super well in life or in D&D. I'd rather be able to do everything pretty good.
Yep, enough to support the people who can't do them quite as good.
Or the people who can do the one thing very well and helping them do it even a little better. That's my bread and butter.
I'm the same way about barbarians.
Yeah.
Where, like, I almost always play barbarians.
That's funny.
So I've been trying not to play them. But then I just ended up making a fighter who is
Does
essentially
barbarian
a barbarian
stuff.
thing. Because the reason I like them so much is the advantage on athletics checks means you can push, pull, and grab. And that's my favorite thing.
I mean, it's weird. We talked about it before, but it is weird that barbarians don't have that as more of their actual mechanic. Is just like
grabbing stuff.
Just grappling.
Yeah, that's why when last time we spoke about like dedicated classes we wish we were in the game.
You want it?
I mean, I want that grappler class.
I know. I get it. I totally get it.
But I mean, Grapple Daddy is the daddy of grappling, so I'm doing
grappled
okay.
a Cyclops.
I did. It felt awesome.
It was very cool.
I just think there's something super fun about the mental image of like something Alan, would never be able to do, which is charge a monster and fucking put it in a headlock or like push it and make it fall down. There's something that feels like superhuman in a way that's more gratifying to me than magic.
Right.
Of like charging at like a cyclops, something that's 3 times my size, and putting my shoulder into its knee and making it fall down on its back.
I was reading something on the like D&D Next Reddit page where that somebody was talking about that, of like, somebody was like, how do you make fighters feel relevant, or like martial classes feel relevant in upper tier play? Because like the magic users, it may, like in a multiplanar adventure or like planar level epic adventure thing, like a wizard makes sense to be in that environment, but like a fighter, it makes sense for, they were essentially being like a level 15 wizard is a demigod and like controls the stuffs of universes, and so it makes sense for them to be involved in universal battles. But like a level 15 fighter is just a really good fighter, and so it's like, how do you make them relevant to that scale? And it was like, but that's actually the fun of it, is like you're so good at
like
fighting.
A person.
Yeah, you're just some person who's so good at fighting. You are going up against things that are way beyond your pay scale and holding your own.
Yeah.
And that's like super fun.
And that's, I mean, a lot of our favorite, like Batman.
Yeah.
Like that's Batman's whole deal. It's like he's literally a guy in a room full of literal gods.
Right.
And holds his own just through sheer force of will and like technical skill.
Yeah. Batman is a level 20 fighter and Superman is a level 20 sorcerer.
Yeah, basically.
And it's like, but they both are equals.
Yep.
That's rad.
It is rad.
Although I mean, Superman is more than a level 20. I mean,
yeah, he's some kind of epic class.
He'd be like
garbage.
one of the a diva, a deva.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
that angel class thing,
yeah,
or angel monster.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. But I think it's fun. I just think it's fun. I tend to enjoy things that are that feel like visually cool in my head.
Yeah.
Rather than like, I think I have a wizard character that I love, and I really love playing a wizard and using spells, and like my spell book is like insane, and having to pick things and like blah blah blah. Like that's super fun. But for some reason in my head, in a world of magic, being able to just like simply overpower something feels so much more epic and interesting. It's like Conan the Barbarian.
Right.
Like he's just a big, strong dude.
Yeah.
And he's trying his best to overcome things that are just capable of stuff that is literally bending the rules of reality.
Yeah, it's like he confronts sublimity and
just puts it in a headlock.
Yeah, which is
so cool.
So cool. Yeah, it's interesting you say about like the visual thing, because I've realized recently that that's how I've been figuring out the pacing of sessions. Is once we have is really like, I would never end a session before we have a moment that feels cinematic, because it's like, what's the point? And then once we've had like a successful, satisfying cinematic moment, I'm usually like, cool, we can end it at any point. Like once you have something memorable that you could talk about 2 weeks from now, everybody would pick up on it. Like, remember when Trevor like got turned into a pterodon and you harpooned him, and then
so that I could fly behind him.
Fling yourself, like hanging by rope, fling yourself from him into a cyclops, and knock it down from like 100 feet away. It's like, yeah, that's a very cool moment. It was in an airship, all there. We could all see that in our heads. Cool. We're basically done with this session.
Yeah.
Unless we have enough time that we want to work towards another one of those building block moments. But like that matters way more than the actual storyline. Like literally my battles. The way I'm starting to do stuff is like my combats and stuff are just until I get to those moments, and then I'm like, great, we're done. Like I
got him.
We got him. It's over. Like we don't need to grind out the last 13 hit points.
Yep.
It's not as much fun as just like, that was super cool. We all were really invested in it. Now let's be done, so that we don't have to like lose that feeling and get back into the grind of combat. Instead, like end on that high note and either go back into like non-initiative play and just like stay there for a while.
Yep.
Or be like, cool, we'll pick it up next week. But
and levels play. I mean, we talked about that in a previous episode, but levels play into that too, where like the way you have to design your encounters in order to get that feeling changes as the characters become stronger.
It's very true.
Things that require outside of the box or like big moments at lower levels often are very easily solvable at higher levels,
right?
In a way that is cool and indicative of power growth, but perhaps does not lend itself as easily to the kinds of moments you're talking about.
Right, because it doesn't
like,
have stakes to it.
Right, where like getting across a chasm at level 3 can be like, wow, that was nuts, I can't believe we made it. And then at level 10, when the party has access to like fly or can literally create a bridge out of nothing with like fabricate, those moments are just like, they become simple.
Yeah, they become mundane too.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're constantly chasing that high of novelty.
Yep, which is why
the DM's curse.
One of the reasons I still actually haven't really decided how I'm going to do the leveling system for our reboot. The party started at level 2. We're now 5 sessions in, and we paused halfway through this dungeon, I guess technically today. The end of which I'm hoping to maybe level everybody up to 3.
That'd be fun.
But I haven't really settled 100% on how I want to do leveling progression yet. If it's just going to be straight up like milestone when I say so, or some stolen variation of your bond system that I like.
Yeah.
But I think I do want to take this round slower, again, because I think the pace we went at last time around, I think the party, especially the newer players, I think needed more time with their abilities to like really figure out how to use them all. And there was like a paralysis of choice that happened pretty quickly where like, we gained access to so much stuff and so many abilities and so many magic things, that we ended up not really using any of them because we never really got a chance to like experiment with them and figure out what we liked or what, you know.
Yeah. And I think, that makes me think of something, which is like, I think almost we're doing a disservice to those players by calling them the new players, because they are, but I think what it is more is they're just, they're not system focused.
That's a better way of putting it.
Because it is like I don't think they'll necessarily ever they'll learn the rules more, but they won't be invested in the rules of it because that's not why they're playing. Like
right.
For them, they enjoy the storytelling of it, and that's like completely acceptable. It's different than like how you or I play, where we're like rules nerds, and part of the fun is that crunch and like figuring out how to abuse the crunch. But yeah, like they're not system adverse, but they're just sort of like knowing the system isn't what
makes the game
isn't
fun.
what makes the game fun, because they're not because you as a DM, they don't feel at all adversarial towards you. They feel completely like collaborative. So it's like,
which is nice.
Yeah,
like holy shit.
So they're
if
like,
you never get your hands on that, do it.
Yeah, because it's like, I don't need to know the rules. Alan does, and he'll figure out a way for this to be fun. Which, if you were a DM who hates that would be a nightmare. Or if you haven't like agreed to those terms. But if you have, then it's just a different play experience, and figuring out different means. And what it does, like that play, the only thing with that play style is it inherently means leveling up is more cumbersome than it is useful.
Which
so it is like an interesting.
Will be fun for people because there's a lot of archetype stuff that comes into that feels it feels character progression as opposed to power progression.
Right.
Focused in a lot of ways where like you're drilling down into, you know, you're not just a rogue.
Right.
You're a whatever. You're a swashbuckler or a thief. Or like these like specific
or like
things,
an arcane trickster,
which is
or
probably
like an assassin.
Yeah, go on.
Or like a mastermind.
Yeah, or like an inquisitor.
Yeah, keep going.
I think that's all of them that are official.
Yeah.
But
or a scout.
Oh, we forgot scout.
Yep.
How could we forget scout?
How could you forget it?
Like an idiot.
I know. It was too sneaky.
Which I'm pretty sure Becca's going to become an arcane trickster, I imagine.
That's funny.
But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
And who cares?
Speaking of the bond system, I have been working on it a little bit and updating it after talking to James D'Amato of the Dungeon Zone, friend of the show, soon to be returning guest onto the show. Just to tease that out there. So I'm updating it, and I might put it out on our Twitter for people to use and look at and give me feedback on. But one of the things that I developed with it was a system for determining essentially when you level up if you're using it, and it works out to about every 4 to 5 sessions, which I think is a good rule of thumb. I think because like realistically for most people, that's every month you level up, and that's just about how long you can go before, if you're into it, you start getting bored, and if you're not into it, you forget that your character has additional capabilities, so it constantly is reminding you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited to keep working on it and maybe play with it in either our game or a separate game just to see what it does. Because the main thing that I want to pull from it, and I'm calling them plot points now, so as that not to overlay with other uses of the words bonds.
Yeah.
The main thing I want to do is create like dramatic moments between characters and between players.
That guy loves his cinematic moments.
I love cinematic moments. I think if you really, all the systems should be like, all any system should be doing is getting to points where everybody is like excitedly throwing out things and like adding details to a description, so that all the DM has to do is go, yeah, that totally happens. Like that then is
like
a game well played.
Some kind of weird game of horse in the woods with a bunch of animals.
Yeah, I did. That was a moment where we played Becca's character challenged a Catchup to a game of horse-based,
but it was like a trial of 3. I think it was Ant.
It was Ant, and it was essentially a gymnastics competition. But we didn't really have any reason for it, or really any explanation for it at all. There wasn't even like, what I enjoyed about it wasn't even like the animals in this part of the forest show an eerie intelligence or anything to like warrant. Nor was it like,
nope,
you use speak with animals to do. It wasn't like there was no like nature connection happening at all. It was like
if he just walked. Her character is named Fleetwood Mac. And he just walked into the woods and loudly announced that he wanted all the woodland creatures to gather around and witness a spectacle.
And just through sheer force of personality, it happened.
He did it. Yeah.
It was great. It was very fun.
But my favorite part of that whole encounter was you and Rashawn like chipping in and like being animals or like subtly trying to sway the course of the competition. And we've established what will most assuredly be a running gag in the campaign of Fleetwood Mac trying to sew the body parts back onto the creatures that he has accidentally or intentionally dismembered.
Yeah, horrific taxidermy with where it almost seems like a guilty conscience coming out and trying to like make it look like he didn't kill something. Which assuredly will have deep and long-running psychological consequences.
For me.
Yes.
Certainly
and for everybody
me.
At the table who has to experience it. So, Alan, with this new campaign and with like your introduction of maps and stuff, is there anything else that you are including in to sort of meet your players' needs or change up? Or is there anything like you're just curious to try different from other times you've DM'd?
I think I've talked about almost all of it, probably all of it at this point. I think the structure is super interesting, and I'm curious. Honestly, a lot of it right now is just revolving around longevity. I'm curious about how. I'm curious if maps is like a fun new thing because I haven't done them before really with this group.
How long did it take you to draw the map that we used today?
Not long at all.
Is that minutes
Have you noticed
or hours?
where I stole it from?
No.
Oh, great.
Where did you steal it from?
This is a modified version of the Cragmaw hideout from Lost Mines of Phandelver.
Got it.
But I'm curious if like maps are fun and new and if they'll like become mundane. I doubt it. I have no reason to feel either way about it.
Yeah.
But for some reason, to me, I just feel like having a visual representation and having physical presence on the board and something to engage with and see movement on when it's not actively your turn, I feel like solves a problem in a way that I don't think is temporary.
Yeah.
So that's been fun. I am curious to see how this structure of episodes and like self-contained arcs that aren't pushing towards some long-term narrative or feel like they're part of some like grand overarching world-saving quest.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if that has legs and longevity. I have no reason to suspect either way on it, but so far seems successful.
Yeah.
And super easy to scale up and down as I need to, which is something, a narrative by definition must continue to progress.
Right.
In a way that with episodes, if I'm like, well, I think we need like a Goof Troop Dummy Dum Dum Town episode.
Yeah.
I can just do that for no reason. And it doesn't feel like, it hopefully will never feel like there's something on hold to pursue a side thing.
Right.
Which is, I think, based on some of that feedback from last campaign, it sometimes got hard to like push the narrative along without feeling like people felt like, oh, well, I was still really trying to get at this other thing.
Right.
And trying to balance like plot lines.
Right.
In a way that I don't think is ultimately super important to our table. And I know there are tables that really like the feeling of like, we're basically writing an epic fantasy novel together.
This is a story that we're all making.
And I think that's cool as shit.
Yeah.
That's just not our group.
That is not our group. Do you feel like that is...
Curious about it.
I'm actually curious. Do you feel like that is our other group, the group that you play in with that I DM?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think something that both groups have in common is they revolve around the people at the table all seem to share a goal of having their characters be the most their character it can be.
Yeah.
So finding situations where they can creating or like fudging situations where like Emperor Trevor of Baducaville can be the most Trevor he can possibly be in that moment, or like that Busty can be the most Busty she can be.
Yeah.
Or Barfed Vada can be the most like barbarian she can be. Those, I think we're more interested in character interaction and like character study in a way than we are in
narrative.
Like storytelling.
Yeah, which is so two responses to that. That's why this like plot point system I'm enjoying sort of fleshing out and using, because I think it like serves that desire really well, because you get something from doing that in a way that feels fun. And it keeps people's focus on it. B, it's an interesting thing, because that's the to go back to what I was saying of like sort of the fork in the road. The thing that I'm like trying to scale out is like because we do that, I still build sessions and sort of build the campaign according to like the way one normally builds a D&D campaign, which is sort of like epic fantasy sort of a thing. And I've been a little bit wondering of like and in the past, and what I've been doing is essentially doing these like internal campaign resets when I feel like it's getting too bogged down by like having the timeline shift forward, or having it like alternate,
or starting a new volleyball season.
And yeah, so I guess I'm wondering, like, for you, I know you're itching to get a new character out. Does that feel because your individual character study has completed, or like that the campaign as a whole you're looking for something new? Like, where are you at with that as a player?
Oh, interesting. I think part of it is that I'm just like always coming up with character concepts, and there's a grass is always greener effect that happens where I'm like, oh no, this new character is way better than this old janky character I've been playing or whatever. So there's an element of that, but I don't think if the Chicago guy,
it happens.
What are you gonna do
all the time?
Got to run through that red light somehow.
Zing!
Got 'em, cops. Probably a fire engine, though.
Yeah, they're good people. They're doing their best.
They're really trying hard. That was an affirmative.
Yep.
I think the thing is that if the question is revolving around like trying to, it definitely has nothing to do with the way that you're building the world, the way the campaign is going. Because part of the reason that I'm always itching to play new characters is because I know that no matter what I roll or what I try, it'll be fun and it'll fit in, because the world is rich and there's like a bunch of stuff happening. So in a way, I would say it's less of like I'm itching for a change and I'm like bored or something, than it is is implicit the right word? Not really. I don't think so, but I'm going to say it anyway, and we'll all understand by the tone of my voice and the other context of the words what I really mean. Yeah. Because that's how language works.
Yeah, it's beautiful and flexible.
Implicit trust that
you used it, right?
Oh, there we go. Great. Yeah. I have implicit trust in the way you, like the game as you run it, which feels like it frees me to pursue characters as I wish, or like make changes or try things or get my guys killed or let them retire or whatever.
Right.
Because I trust that I'm able to like get to do the fun part of like making a new person and then like sliding them in and seeing how the world looks to them and like how they interact with the other characters that are already established and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
In a way that like if I didn't feel as confident in the game or like in the table, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I
Does
agree.
that make sense? Like like where I'd be like, oh, I am an anchor, so I must like
I have to hold it down.
Yeah,
and I
have
can't
to
play.
I have to contribute my side of the story in order to keep this like fuel this thing, and I don't feel that. So with that pressure released, I feel like I can like I can just be whoever I want, and that feels awesome.
Which that because
I don't know if that answers your question.
It does answer my question because I feel like we're nearing another like soft reset point because we've been playing the 3 castles, and so that's why I'm trying to decide how soft or hard that campaign reset is going to be. And I think it will be soft. I think it might be really soft by just being like, for a little bit, we're just not going to have any intrusive new art. We're just going to do little episodes and sort of essentially like we're going to set our character sheets aside, just play the characters in like classic talking game, and then we'll go in with another one. Speaking of that, I think you should introduce your new character. We should introduce your new character as an NPC that you play.
Oh, sick.
So that otherwise you're going to have to wait like 4 sessions because that I realize like if you this is another suggestion for DMs at home. If you have a player like Alan who makes a new character
every day,
and like texts you literally probably once a month with like, hey, I have a new character I'm going to play. What I recommend to that, the tricky part with that is it's not hard to bring a new character in because like people live in your world and they bump into each other. That's fine. What's hard is the hitting the ground running of like having people have relationships and stuff. It always feels a little forced, and like the other players don't have as much of a connection to that character as they do to the other character that the person retired. So it always can feel like a little bit of a hiccup, no matter how well you do it. So one thing I would recommend is if you're Alan, is like, I really want to play this new character, do a soft introduction of having that character come in a few times while their old character is still wrapping things up, so that you're essentially doing like a seamless transition to the new character. And so like I think what we'll do is introduce your new character, and that first session your new character will be about 10% in the session, and then the next time like 30, and then like 60, and then like 80, and then 100, and the reverse for your old character.
Perfect.
Just so that it's like over the course of 4 sessions, you have a new character in place, but we aren't like, wait, what happened to the other character? Essentially give them everything they want, which is to play multiple characters at once, but trust that they can also do role play at the table and like not take sole focus.
Yeah.
Cool. I think that's all I have.
Yeah, same.
I did have one quick question. If we got a few more minutes to it, we did do the Dungeon Dome special, the Tomb of Annihilation Dungeon Dome.
If we're gonna have James on the show,
should we just talk about it then?
That. So here's the tease for that. We ran Asarak and against a party of the one-shot team in the Dungeon Dome to the death. It was cool as shit.
Inside Asarak's phylactery.
It was nerve-wracking and long, and it made me sweaty. And
me too.
I had to pull out all my weird tricks.
It was really interesting because, so Alan played Asarak against 4 other PCs playing the other side.
Mm-hmm.
I DM'd it. Long story short, we'll get into it in far greater detail, but it was really interesting seeing how hard that is competition wise, like playing that, because Alan got beat. No spoilers, but Alan got beat. But in reality, I think you would have won. It was just you couldn't win because of the way that it works when anytime a party is playing against an enemy was you won too early. And so it didn't work because because the problem is you can't win. The way the party wins in a competition like that is they kill the bad guy. and that's how you win. Like, as a party, you kill the bad guy and you won. As the bad guy, you have to kill each individual member. Like, you don't get to just kill the party and then you win. You have to kill each one individually, which means there's that player then is like just sitting for the remainder of the time.
Yeah.
And it's like just a note to DMs of like, it made me really cognizant of like, man, playing against a bad guy that's really competent can be really tricky to manage, because it's very easy to like ice somebody from the play for a really extended period of time.
Yeah. Feeble mind.
Feeble mind, man, that was brutal. If I'd adjudicated correctly and like just
like
based
in a
on
way
rules,
that is not fun for the Dungeon Dome.
yeah, then I think you would have won.
Because no bard means no res,
right?
And no that polymorph wouldn't have happened. Yeah. I mean it was a big snowball.
Yeah, you would have iced everybody pretty easily, I think.
Yeah.
So come to another session with your podcast ears to listen to discussion on that topic.
Yeah, we're going to go over the match with a fine-tooth comb. We'll talk about strategies and balance and like things we could have done differently in retrospect, and all kinds of fun, juicy shit about running super high-level characters against a disgustingly powerful boss.
And we'll also talk about how effectively we did or did not spoil Tomb of Annihilation for ourselves to people who have never played it.
That's correct. I feel pretty spoiled.
I feel 40% spoiled. And with that, I think we're done today.
Yep.
I think we did everything we need to do.
We just have one thing left.
What's that, Alan?
Tyler, what's the word of the day?
The word
words of the day.
No, it's just a word today.
Oh, damn!
I'm glad that you asked that way, because it was just a single word. And it was passive. Because, everybody has a passive perception.
They do.
And that is just something that's always on. And you can have pretty good you can have great passive perception. Your passive perception could be higher than your active perception. But you know what? If you're always passive, you're never going to get a nat 20.
Wow.
You got to be active for that nat 20, folks.
Mic drop.